Hi Leo, welcome to The Modern Spiritualist. My name is Raheem. We're going to look at May. Today, this is for Leo, Sun, Moon, Rising, and North Node, or you can use this for any Leo placement, really. Celtic Cross Spread using the Quantum Tarot deck, no reversals in this deck, plus the Threads of Fate Oracle energy for your Catalyst. Your Catalyst energy is going to serve as like the high point for all of these energies so that, thread together to create your highest alignment. So if you get lost in process this month, you can always refer back to the Catalyst energy to remind you what all this is for, right? Okay, so starting with your Catalyst energy, I pulled the Transmute card. It showed up in reverse. Let's see. So if this were in the upright and transmutation was on the agenda for this month, it would kind of, for me, I guess, align with Ascension in terms of it's just about taking denser matter and transforming it into lighter matter so that it can transform and rearrange. I already said transform, so that it can basically rearrange itself in such a way that it either releases out of your field and gets recycled back into universal energy, or it changes within you in some way so that you can utilize it in a new way and let go of the stagnant aspects of that particular energy. So in the reverse, I'm getting really pulled towards the eye. Now, in the upright, this eye could just be kind of referred to as like cosmic consciousness, right? The highest vibration possible, which would be you kind of aligning with your higher self and merging with the universe as an entity. In the reverse, it kind of feels like instead of being that highest sky energy, it's about the core of the earth. It's about yin energy, cultivation of energy, kind of being in that denser matter in a good way. And so it's not about dense matter that is stagnant. It is about dense earth matter that is nutrient rich that you need to absorb this month. So like soil, I think about roots in soil. The soil is dense matter. It's dense, but it's nutrient rich, and it's how the plant or the tree or whatever thrives. And so this is about grounding. Now the transmutation aspect of this is, where do you feel ungrounded, or where are you ungrounded? Or, I'm sorry, where are you grounded in the wrong thing? And I'll talk about that in a second. Or in what aspects are you ungrounded in your life? In what aspects are you grounded in the wrong thing in your life? And in what aspects are you maybe like grounded in the right way in terms of you have an extension of your energy that's kind of sinking into the earth? But I kind of think of it as, if we're looking at this ancestrally, which I think we should for a second, you could very easily be, if you haven't done work to get the unwell ancestry out of your field, what can end up happening is you're rooted into the unwell ancestry. And below that unwell ancestry is the well ancestry, right? The first ancestor is the earth herself, and that big, great cosmic tree of, both like human ancestors and non-human ancestors that are so ancient and so old that you kind of have access to that ancient wisdom, ideally, right? But because we have so much unresolved ancestry in the way, if you haven't done work to remove that from your field, you can kind of like, while you're still anchored in that well ancestry on some level, it's like you have all this gunk in the way, and so you can't like fully access it, and you're really just accessing the unwell ancestry instead. And so maybe the root system is just rotten, right? It needs to be dug up or healed or whatever. And so those are kind of the three pathways I'm seeing. Is like you're either grounded in something that's past its time and rotten, and you just need to get it out of the way so you can access the deeper roots. You may just need to strengthen those roots once you have access, kind of recover from what was rotten and kind of in the way of your true grounding into the earth. It could be as simple as if you really feel little to no connection to the earth, you may just need to start cultivating that this month. So go outside, connect with the life around you, wherever you are. There's always life. Even if you live in New York, go to Central Park, you know what I mean? Or buy a houseplant. Like, it doesn't matter where you are. Just connect with the earth in some way. if you're ungrounded, you're not in your body, that's probably the best thing to do, is just find new ways to connect with the earth. If you're grounded in the wrong thing, that could be like a variety of things. It's very easy to be grounded in a false foundation, especially if, like in a situation where you maybe had experienced trauma at some point growing up, which we all have experienced trauma, but if you weren't able to address that in a healthy way at the time, you may have just done the best you could with what you had, and what that happens is when you step into adulthood, and you have to start making your own choices and survive, sometimes we can kind of start building, this is really common, start building a false foundation or false grounding on top of the trauma. So instead of clearing it out, you're just trying to build a life on top of it. So you're not actually grounded. You're grounded in this kind of fake sense of foundation that you've built that is lying on top of all your other shit. And and underneath all that is the real earth, the real ground, right? So it may be that if you are you grounded in the wrong thing? Are you grounded in a false foundation? And that could look all kinds of ways. It could be grounded in a certain method of thinking or a certain way of viewing the world. Like you could be grounded in your worldview in a way that no longer serves you. You could be grounded into another person, like grounded into your relationship, a codependency issue, right? You could be grounded into your family instead of grounded into the earth and the sky. You're supposed to be grounded into your family as a child, but not as an adult. You're supposed to individuate. So you can be grounded into family in a way that is clouding your actual sense of authenticity, in which case you need to just pull the cording out of your family line and record yourself with the earth and the sky. Trying to think what else. Yeah, the more you can kind of clean up the dense matter in a way that allows it to still be earthy and dense, but kind of clears the debris or the lack of clarity or what is rotten or stagnant, so that you're actually accessing nutrient-rich soil. It's like, you could be grounded in dry soil, arid desert soil. You could be grounded in soil that is too moist and it's rotting. You could be grounded in a dried up lake, like, all kinds of things. And so what you're trying to find is that nutrient-rich, balanced soil that can actually nourish, support you, and strengthen your roots, right? Strengthen your foundation. So, yeah, those are kind of all the avenues in, because what you're doing is you're just transmuting energy that does need to be in the ground, but is not truly grounded in some way. There's like an unreal quality to what you may be grounded in, and it's just a matter of, and depending on where you are, because everyone's in a different place, it really could be as simple as not feeling connected to the earth at all and needing to make that initial connection, or it could be, as complex as you are really firmly rooted, you do ancestry work, you make the choice to ground into the earth every day, and there's just something that needs to be updated. It could be as simple as that. For those of you that do this work, it's like, oh, maybe you notice that you're grounded in something in some way that you realize you can pull the cord from now, and that's all you have to do is just remove that cord, reground into the earth, and that's it, you're good. Or maybe you need to update your grounding in some way because your energy system has gotten bigger, and so the roots need to get bigger too, so that you're not top heavy. It could be something like that. So all those are options to kind of bring it back down into this central focal point. If you have, just take a look at your relationship with the earth and your relationship with your body, and make note of what is serving you and what isn't, and then try to come up with a plan moving forward to remove what isn't serving you and strengthen what is, and then I think you'll be good to go. Okay, so moving into the Celtic cross spread. The devil. Something isn't working anymore, and I do want to say anymore, because I feel like there's, something you've been on, some sort of mode of operation in the world, project, person, self-development, career, whatever, your own spiritual energy work, maybe. I think for many of you it is. That's just what I'm getting coming out of this, because transmute is a very, abstract kind of thing. It's energy transformation, so maybe many of you are in that place, looking at your energy system and your spirituality and things like that. Something just isn't working anymore, and it was before. Something was serving you, and it isn't serving you anymore, and so what was before kind of used as a way to liberate yourself from a certain situation, it seems it's now been turned into a form of enslavement because it's past its due. And that thing happens, we set certain things up, certain parameters up for ourselves, so that we can jump through the appropriate hoops and get to where we're going. And because some of us, some aspects of us are wounded and may have different agendas than other aspects of us, we have to create certain ways to get around that so that you can achieve the goal that you really want to achieve, right? Because we can do all the healing work in the world and there's still be more, so it's kind of striking that balance between I need to heal these wounded parts of me so that they can align with my intent, right? But then also there's this aspect of I need to keep moving forward in the world, so I still need to be able to find ways to move forward and kind of keep these other wounded parts of myself in check if I can't deal with them right now. It's kind of a dance. So I feel like if you put a system in place that was working at the time, depending on what you were going through, and something changes, you do good healing work, you do good transformation work, or your goal or vision for your life changes in some way, it's like the entire mode of operation has to shift as well. Otherwise, you'll get stagnant, you'll get stuck. And so it just seems like something needs to be updated. Something that was working for you is just no longer fitting your life, and it's holding you back, and you have to let it go. And for some of you, I feel like this just may be a tough pill to swallow because whatever this thing is did really serve you. This could be a relationship or somebody in your life. This could be a specific friendship or a specific support person that isn't supporting you in the way they used to. This has happened to me before where I realized somebody isn't my teacher anymore. And I have to make this shift into a peership or friendship because we're just not at this kind of place anymore where they were guiding me. You know what I mean? Not caught up, but I got to a place in my process where what they were offering me before they could no longer offer, so I had to make a shift, and it was sad, and then we had to kind of figure out, in those moments, this happened a few times with a few different people, we had to figure out what the new dynamic was, and that just took some shifting, and that's always kind of awkward. It's an awkward place of development with someone, so that could be happening. It could be a habit, like a lifestyle habit. Sugar, coffee, drugs, and I'm not saying any of these are inherently an issue. Maybe they become an issue for you for some reason. You know what I mean? It's not like they're inherently a problem, but maybe you had, a coffee habit. Maybe you drank, I don't know. I was up to 8 cups a day once, so between 3 and 8 cups a day, which is probably considered excessive via a medical journal or something. I'm not telling you what to do, and I'm not telling you there's a problem necessarily with your coffee consumption, whether this is what it's about or not. But just using this as an example, say you drink 3 to 8 cups a day and you're realizing your body's just not vibing on it anymore, maybe because you've cleared some stagnant energy out or regrounded in some way, strengthened your roots, and you have more energy at your disposal. So now when the coffee moves through your system, maybe it just is too acidic on one hand, and on the other hand, it's making you too frenetic or something. It's not doing the same thing that it was before when you had an energy depletion problem and you needed the energy. Now you have too much energy, right? And you have to cut back. So maybe you decide, 1 to 2 cups of coffee a day. So it could just be something like that, like something that was working for you for a reason, and it's just not working for you that way. And you'll just have to identify why, what it is, why it isn't working anymore, and what you need to do to shift it. And it doesn't always mean you cut something out of your life completely. It often means you just reduce. Like moderation, for me, it always feels like the solution, because if I try to restrict something, I'll be unhappy because I'm restricting something I like, right? And so it's like restriction, trying to hold the fort, trying to maintain self-control, and kind of like being in a place of tension, which is not flow, right? And then it's like if I snap or have a bad day or whatever, and I want that thing again, let's say it's coffee, let's say I'm drinking no coffee, and I have a day where I really snap and I want to indulge coffee, and I have way too many cups, and since it hasn't been in my system for a while, it makes me feel even more jacked up. And now I'm swinging back and forth on this pendulum between too much and not enough. So that's also what we want to prevent. Moving away from a habit does not mean that you come down hard on yourself and imprison yourself, because that's just the devil too. The same habits that imprison us because it's excessive are, we can kind of, on the other side of that coin, restrict ourselves too much, and now we're still in prison, right? The prison that we've created for ourselves via whatever this thing is. And so it's like, let's avoid the extremes, right? Which is a very grounding thing to do. Avoiding extremes is very grounding. Let's avoid the extremes. Let's not restrict. Let's not guilt. Let's step away from shame and judgment. Let's step away from catastrophizing, like, if I don't move away from this habit, I'm going to die. Or if I do move away from this habit, I'm going to die, because neither are true, right? You're going to be fine either way. So whatever this is, whether it's a person or a habit or a project or a job or something within you that you've identified with that you decide you don't want to identify with anymore. That could be something too. Like for instance, for a while, I started working out again pretty heavily. And at the beginning of that, for a while, I just had this belief, this just ego-identified belief that my body was weak and it was never going to get strong, you know? And so working out was a real pain in the ass because I just continued to do it and also feel like it was fruitless because I would never make progress, right? And that just wasn't true. And so I had to like move away from ego identification as a person that is weak. So it could even be that, like something you identify with that just doesn't work for you anymore. It could be simple. And maybe that's why it might be easy to miss, or it might be easy to go too far in the other direction if you do notice. So try to avoid catastrophizing, try to avoid extremes, try to stick to moderation, and really think about whatever this thing is, what role do you want it to play in your life? What would be a healthier role for this to play? Do you have to repurpose it in some way or choose a different avenue under which you use it? For instance, like I don't drink at home, I only drink in public. And I limit to like 2 drinks, you know what I mean? So there's like things like that you can do. You're not cutting it out of your life. You're repackaging the way that you use it. So it could be something like that, okay? Crossing the devil. 8 of Wands, Queen of Swords. Let's start with the 8 of Wands, one of my favorite cards. You've got stuff to do. You definitely have things on your plate and things to accomplish. And maybe you're leveling up in some way. Maybe you're leveling up in job, career, project, self-development. You're leveling up in some way. When you level up, this always happens. You know, you always have to kind of like play cleanup with your body and connection to the earth. You always kind of have to strengthen your body and its connection to the earth when you level up. You usually do have to walk away from something because you're expanding, and whatever the limiting factor is, it just doesn't suit your energetic system anymore, so it's got to go. Sometimes those things just naturally fall out, I think, and because this card is showing up, for whatever reason, the thing that needs to fall away, your ego is still identified with, and so it's not letting go naturally. You have to like make an effort or make some sort of lane switch in your mind, so that's why this is coming up. But that's what's happening. You're leveling up, you're expanding. Maybe you're just taking on more, like a heavier workload or something like that. And so something that is placing restriction or limitation or drain on you just has to go so that you can kind of just shoot forward. I feel like once you let go of this attachment to whatever it is, like whenever you unstrap yourself, right? This kind of is an indication to me. It's kind of like a slow-moving chariot, or just a chariot that isn't as archetypal or as long of a time frame. But 8 of Wands suggests that there's a lot of forward momentum and that you're just going to kind of take off. Sometimes you can be, with the 8 of Wands, it's like you're multi-managing. So you may have multiple lanes or like multiple responsibilities, and you have to figure out how to kind of put all your energy in the right places so it all kind of takes off on its own launch pads. You know, if it's not one big thing, if it's a lot of small things and they're all kind of taking off, you could be in a situation like that. So yeah, there's takeoff happening, and you just have to make sure that you let go of the necessary baggage so that you can take off with it and you're not being pulled in 2 different directions, okay? Queen of Swords. You have decisions to make, so it looks like these are kind of disparate, like the different lanes you could go through, and it looks like they're all equally viable and they all could kind of take off. And it doesn't look like you have to pick one, but it feels like you have to manage your energy and make some decisions. And there's no right or wrong decision. There's just whatever you want and what you're willing to sacrifice or allow or whatever to get what you want. Kind of like a you get what you put in. That's what I'm feeling about this 8 of Wands. And the Queen of Swords is here saying we need to strategize. We need to really think about what we actually want. We need to think about what we can actually accomplish here right now, like what the next steps are. What's the long game? What's the short game? What's the ideal? Can I make it happen? How can I make it happen? And what's the first step, right? These are all kind of the things we're thinking about. So if you've got 8 lanes and you decide I can't do all 8. I can't do all 8 of these things, at least right now. So maybe right now I prioritize these 4, I sacrifice the other 4, and that's what I'm going to do for now. And then maybe within those 4 lanes, you figure out the next steps. Maybe you only choose one thing, maybe you find a way to converge them all into one thing. This is just about creative strategy and being diligent and methodical and practical without sacrificing what it is you really want, okay? Because there's always a way, as long as you really, really want it and you're willing to put in the work. And so what are you willing to put in the work for? What are you willing to sacrifice? What do you really want? And how are you going to get there? That is what these things are asking you to do. In your past, affecting the present, we have the Queen of Wands, 2 queens. So this is a really good month to gather information, to listen, to be receptive, and to kind of be open and absorb information that comes in on all levels, especially the mental and the creative, procreative. Okay, so Queen of Wands. I feel like you've come into this cycle with a lot of passion, and this passion feels very soul's purpose led. Like you came into this world with this passion, right? So this is not small change stuff. Whatever you're going through and whatever you need to let go of, it is like for the thing that you are fully, truly, completely passionate about. This showing up in the past mostly feels supportive. It feels like you know what has stuck with you, like what the drive or the passion or the motivation has been since the beginning. You know, what inspires you, what sparks creativity, what sparks action. You know, that's this energy. And so you want to make sure that you're striking a balance here between the Queen of Wands and the Queen of Swords. You need to really think things through and be diligent and slow things down and really have a plan in place before you take too much action, because there's too much going on and there's too much you need to let go of. And you need to be able to assess what those things are. So this seems like a mostly internal kind of process. Even though it feels intense, like it feels like you need to put your energy into it. It's not like you're doing anything necessarily. I mean, you can be. I'm not telling you that you can't, but it seems like it's a very internal kind of start of the month. You know, what are we doing here? What do I need to do? And so with these 2 queens here, it's like, whatever you do next, 8 of Wands. So, you know, Queen of Wands, 8 of Wands, this is important. The Wands energy, inspired action, going towards that which has heart and meaning, right? And the Queen of Swords, doing the reasonable thing. This can really axe you if it's by itself. Like if you're only doing the reasonable thing and there's no spirit, there's no heart, there's no feeling in it, it's just going to stagnate. It's going to stagnate. It's not going to go anywhere. There's no motion behind it. It's just all thought, right? And that's just not where you want to live. And so on the flip side of that, and I don't think this is going to happen, but on the flip side of that, you could be too passionate and not see what's in front of you and smack into things or not plan well or kind of just like move based on whim. And then you're not actually accomplishing what you want. You're chasing the feeling, but you're not actually creating a space in which that feeling can last, can be a part of your lifestyle in a supportive way. And so it's like whatever you're trying to cultivate, it's like you need to build the foundation first. You need to clear any false foundation that already exists. You need to walk away from maybe impulsive habits that don't serve you. On the flip side of that, maybe you need to walk away from just having too much head and not enough heart. Are you way too focused on being safe that you're not taking the necessary risks and opportunities that you need to take to really get what you want? These are all things to kind of look at, because you need both. You need to think long game, but that long game needs to be about what you truly want, not about what somebody else has imposed on you or what the safe thing is. This isn't about being safe, but this is about being diligent, and you need to strike that balance, okay? In your foundation, the Lovers, Gemini energy. Yeah, we have Gemini and Capricorn here, so, and Aquarius. So if you have those in your chart. And whatever the Empress is, I think it's just Venus. So you can look at your Venus placement if you'd like. Okay, the Lovers. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the big picture. So what's supporting you is what you love. And it's that simple. If you love yourself and your process, that's what you need to pursue. If you love this project or this career or these passions and hobbies, that's what you need to pursue. If you love the earth, but you've just fallen out of alignment with it for whatever reason, then pursue the earth. You know, reunite that spark of divine love between you and Mother Earth. If it's about a relationship, that, you know, romantic or otherwise, then do what you need to do for the health of that relationship, not for the stories, not for the fear of abandonment, the fear of being unloved, any kind of defensiveness or need to know, need to be right, need to beat the other person or stay in some sort of codependent situation. It's like, if this is about a relationship, if there's a codependency aspect, which is what I'm feeling because the devil is a very codependent energy, it's like you'll need to identify what are the codependent behaviors that we are displaying and how can we address it and get into a more healthy place. So if this is about a relationship, this is about moving away from relational dynamics that are getting in the way of the health of the relationship and really prioritizing the health of the relationship, which requires you to step into a true place of grounding. Again, so that you're not in those extremes, right? So that you're really centered and clear and can really, truly, accurately assess what's going on. And you need to be in your body for that, okay? Because your mind is easily hijacked. It's infinite, right? Your body can only be here now. And your body houses your actual emotions. And so that's what you need to be able to access. So you need to be grounded. If this is about a relationship, you need to focus on your grounding first and then assess the relationship. Crowning you this month, we have the 5 of Cups. Yeah, so there's some sort of disappointment has happened. It seems like it's already happened because this is what you're thinking about. And so, again, if this is about a relationship, and for many of you I feel like it is, what didn't work out in the past and why? And what have you not healed from yet? If this is an old relationship that you really cared about, maybe you just need to grieve the relationship still and you haven't given yourself the opportunity, or there's just still more grieving to do. If this is about an old relationship, but it's more about a codependency aspect or an aspect of lack of health in the relationship, and maybe the fear or disappointment around being in a new relationship in some way, and maybe the fear of repeating patterns or something like that. What I like about the fear of repeating patterns is it means that you're consciously aware, at least on some level, that you could repeat a pattern, and that is the best way to not, right? The awareness of the pattern is the best way to change it. If we're aware, then it doesn't scoot past us. Even if we slip up, we still see it. You know what I mean? Like if I chose to stop drinking 6 cups of coffee and I chose to just drink only 1, and I had a day where I drank 4, am I slipping back into that pattern? Yes, a little bit for one day. But am I aware of it? Yes. So it's not like it's going to slip back into an unconscious process and I'm just going to revert back. It's like I can see it, so it's just not going to happen. That awareness prevents it from happening. So take a deep breath. Things probably just aren't as bad as they seem. This seems to be coming out of you feeling like you've dropped the ball in some way, or that you can't do the next cycle in some way, like feeling like you're the weak link is what I'm experiencing from this energy. And I think that you're being a little bit hard on yourself. The interesting thing about becoming more and more conscious and aware of ourselves is that we become aware of patterns that we weren't aware of before. And within that awareness, it's very easy to beat yourself up. Like, it's very easy to be like, oh, I keep seeing myself do this thing, and like I just want to beat myself up every time I slip up or do it again or whatever. And now you're kind of putting yourself back into prison, right? You're putting yourself just in the opposite prison. Instead of being a slave to this impulse or this pattern or whatever, you're just restraining yourself so much that nobody's happy. So we don't want to put you back in prison, right? We want you to free yourself. And so while I understand why it's easy to beat yourself up when you notice a pattern that you don't like, don't forget to celebrate the fact that you noticed. You noticing is ascension. You're not like going down in progress just because you notice something. It's always been there and you haven't died yet, so you're probably not going to, right? But now you have the opportunity to really change things. But you really can't change things if you're in fear, if you're in fear, shame, guilt, or judgment about, or blame about whatever the pattern is. Because now you're just kind of creating story around it. Oh, because of this pattern, I should be ashamed of myself. Oh, because of this pattern, I should feel guilty. Oh, because of this pattern, I should judge myself because this isn't right. Like all of those things just corners the pattern, puts it in a little box and puts it away. And then it can slip back into the unconscious if you're not careful. It probably won't happen, but it probably could if you took it to the extreme. If you took blame, shame, and judgment and repression to the extreme. So don't do that. Just notice. Appreciate yourself for noticing. And come up with a strategy, right? Ground, strategize, think about, love yourself first, right? And then think about how you can shift it and what is needed to shift it. What I like about this card is there's this like light in the distance, which I don't really see in other decks. Usually there's kind of the implied, hey, some of the cups are still upright, they haven't all spilled over. But in this, there's like this vibrant light at the end of this tunnel, right? And I assume it's like the cup, right? You spilled all these cups, but you're getting the cup later down the road. It's just a little bit far back, and you're not seeing it right now because you're looking at these spilled cups. So the way that I see this as, we come into this world a whole soul, right? And our souls fragment because we experience trauma and decide that that part of ourselves, that aspect of our soul, isn't safe in the world, and we put it away or we reject it in some way, right? So what I'm feeling like is, these spilled cups could just very well be the pattern that you're trying to move away from, the pattern that's restricting your progress. I think a nice way to look at it would be, okay, this pattern here, this is all a part of my soul. It's just my soul being unable to express what it's really trying to express properly. It's not in its authenticity, this aspect of me. It's kind of being redirected, or the transmission is being interrupted somehow, and it's coming out of me sideways, right? That's all. That's all it is. It's just the pattern is getting interrupted. So if you can kind of approach it that way, you can approach it with some compassion and say, okay, I see you. I see what you're doing. Why are you doing it? Why is this needed? Why is this compulsion to keep drinking more and more coffee overtaking me? What's the fear? If I don't drink that next cup of coffee, what's the fear? What am I trying to avoid? What am I running away from? Who feels like they're gonna die if I don't drink this other cup of coffee? And that sounds extreme, but it's not, because whoever in me has that compulsion to reach for the next cup of coffee is a wounded child in me that's trying to get their needs met, and he can't for whatever reason, right? So he does feel like he's gonna die. It's not about the coffee. That's just my current time, the way that a past time trauma is affecting my current time life, just according to the way that I've spun my own stories or whatever, right? Or the way that the caffeine affects me just kind of covers up whatever. So if I can approach that child and say, hey, why are you coming out sideways? What are you trying to express in the world, and why are you unable to? Then usually we can get to a place where it's like, oh, he doesn't want a cup of coffee. He feels a buildup of energy, and he wants to release it in some way, maybe, let's say, creatively. Let's say this part of me really loves to sing and just wants to sing and can't sing because I've created restrictions around it for whatever reason, right? And so the solution to him feeling like he's getting as close as he can to getting his needs met is that cup of coffee, because it kind of mimics the passion that I might feel when I'm singing. It's got that kind of adrenaline rush, right? So, we're chasing that adrenaline rush. We're just chasing it down the wrong lane. And so then it's just like this continuous cycle of more. I can't get enough of it because I'm not actually, it's not even what I want in the first place, right? So, where's the soul transmission getting interrupted, and what does that part of you really need? What are they trying to express in the world? And what's restricting them? And then maybe you can collaborate on this devil energy and figure out what to do next. So have compassion for yourself and celebrate yourself for noticing those things, because most people, I don't want to put that out in the air, but so I won't. But it takes a specific kind of willpower to choose to be conscious instead of unconscious, because it's easier to be unconscious. It's more intense, more uncomfortable, more demanding, more energy intensive to become conscious of your patterns and change them. You feel more fulfilled, you feel happy, you feel safe. You'll hit a certain point, you'll hit a tipping point in your healing where you feel well. There will still be parts of you that feel wounded, but you'll have a baseline sense of peace and contentment, right? And that's what we all want. We all want to feel good about our day. And so, what was my point there? I kind of lost my point. And so, yeah, we do this for a reason. We're becoming conscious for a reason. Many, many reasons. It not only cleans up you, but it cleans up the collective, because you're removing that shit from the collective. If you don't have a wounded pattern anymore, somebody else can't mirror it. You know what I mean? So they'll have a different response to you. And that's one situation in which, in the past, maybe that would have created a matching picture moment where you both trigger each other. You've removed that trigger from yourself, and you can't even trigger that other person in the same way, because when they look in the mirror, that's not what they see, because you don't have it, right? So you are cleaning up the entire collective when you clean up your own shit. You are improving the health and wellness of the entire universe every time you clear out your own shit. And so it not only supports you in all ways. It supports the universe in all ways, and that's infinitely worth a bit of, more of a challenge or a little bit of discomfort, right? Or change. It's infinitely worth it. And that does not mean that we should not consider becoming conscious a celebration. While it is, a responsibility, and it is something that reciprocally creates a positive spin, it feels good, it rewards itself, you still have to make the choice to grit your teeth and do it. And not everyone makes that choice. That's what I'll say. I don't want to say most. I'll say not everyone makes that choice. And so you have a lot to be proud of doing this work. Okay. New circumstance. Page of Wands. Taking that first step towards getting what you really want. Taking inspired action. What I like about this, there's a lot of wand energy here. And these are kind of on opposite sides of each other. You got this in the past, you got this in your near future. And the Queen of Wands energy is all about what is my passion and pursuing that feeling. The Page of Wands is like, okay, the pursuit is starting. We're right on. I know what it feels like when I'm in my passion. I'm going to pursue it. This is how I'm going to do it. And this is the first step, right? So this naturally follows the Queen of Swords. What's the first step after that initial planning? And remember, it doesn't have to be a big, huge thing. If it's as simple as, I want to cut out coffee. If that, I doubt that's the passion you're pursuing, but I'm still going to use this as an example. If you want to drop from 8 cups of coffee to 3 cups of coffee a day, okay? Maybe you just start with 7. You don't drink 8, you drink 7. And then a week later, maybe you move down to 6, So it doesn't have to be big forward motion. You don't have to create the climax of your life right now. Just take the first step. And that's enough, no matter how small that step is. Okay, so yeah. Beautiful. Seems like you're well on your way. And what I love about Wands energy is it drives itself when you're really in that flow. So stay on that Wands energy if you can without getting into the excessive compulsion. Make sure that you avoid compulsion by still planning out what you're doing a little bit, giving yourself time to mull things over so that you really know what you want. Like, for instance, I am being a Capricorn, I guess. If I want to buy something, I sit on it for like 2 weeks to make sure that I still want it at the end of the 2 weeks. I feel like often whatever endures after a waiting period is something that you can actually pursue, because everything else tends to just kind of be a compulsion or an impulse of the moment, right? Or just like a fleeting kind of fantasy, whatever, that feels really good in the moment, but like the next day it's gone. That thing that stays with you, that just does not leave no matter how much time has passed, is the thing to pursue, to spark that wand energy, that fire energy, and go, right? So make sure that you're doing that. You take a little bit of a waiting backseat period first. Make sure you get to a place where you're like, yes, this is 100% what grounded, aligned me wants, and then go for it, okay? Your ego this month, we have the 8 of Cups. Whew. Yeah, just moving away from what doesn't serve you. This is a more excitable 8 of Cups than many other 8 of Cups cards. Usually 8 of Cups comes with some grief. We've already seen that because, the grief's already here. The 5 of Cups kind of crying over what has already passed, grieving recent loss. We have the Devil, which also means moving away from what doesn't serve you in a way that's often kind of meh, it doesn't feel great. It does on the other side of it, but not in the moment, And so this 8 of Cups is matching that energy, of course, and this being your energy that's totally aligned with, what you've got going on. But this 8 of Cups energy, I don't know, this one feels a little more visionary to me than most other 8 of Cups cards, where the grief is more prevalent than anything else. Here, all I really see is this person's walking away from something that isn't working anymore. And that's the other thing about the 8 of Cups, is putting in all this time to stack up these cups and then realizing that once you want that 9th cup, none of these are going to serve you anymore. You have to really walk away. And that's a hard thing. Like when you put work and effort and time and tears into something and eventually decide, oh, this isn't even what I want anymore. That's always it requires a bit of an adjustment. But I just love seeing this like big nebulous, ball of whatever is in front of this person, and he's kind of walking on water to get there. And that feels so idealistic and inspiring to me in a really great way. And he's pursuing that ninth cup, which is of course the nine of cups is the wish fulfillment energy. So you're going after that ninth cup. You're clarifying what that is. You're walking away from what's not going to give it to you, and you're taking the first step towards that ninth cup. It is genuinely something that you really love. So this is good. I like all of this for you. In your environment, we have the star, Aquarius. Ideally, your environment is setting you up to shine right now. And the only thing I feel like there's one little thing that's off, and I feel like it has to do with this devil energy, something in your environment that you don't need, that you need to cut out. And that could be a person or a specific relationship dynamic with a person. I'm sorry if you can hear that. That's just my rabbit making noise. She's been a little restless today. My restless Leo. Yeah. Get back into this. So there's one little thing that's off. It seems like once you make that adjustment, it seems like you do it kind of at the beginning of the month. It doesn't seem like it'll take long, even though it's going to hurt a little. Just growing pains, but it doesn't seem like it's going to take long once you do cut that out, and then it seems like the environment really supports you. So it looks like you're looking for that environmental support, and you're looking for where it's lacking and filling in the gaps this month. And it looks like for the most part, it is very supportive. Like people have your back, your job maybe has your back, just your environment, your home life, maybe you're just really set up for success, really kind of flowing within your home space, so that's good. The star is the environment bringing out the star in you, which is ideal. If we don't have that support, that's part of grounding too. Your environment is part of grounding. If we don't have that fundamental support in the environment in which we exist, toxic work situation, toxic family life, whatever, then we don't have the sufficient foundation to truly build what we want. And so this is about making sure that your environment is firmly grounded in a good way, so it creates a container that supports your success. That's what we're looking for here, okay? And that's what you're pursuing. There's always challenges. It's just like, what can you put up with? What can't you? What conversations do you need to have? What do you need to get rid of? And what do you need to bring in so that you can do the best you can with what you have? Not to say that's perfect, but it's enough. It's enough to get you to succeed, okay? Hopes and fears, the Empress. You're right at the start of building something new in some way. And, so, I feel more hope, and the hope is that you can cultivate and build all this. I think the fear is that you can feel all of it inside you, you can feel the potential, and I think on some level, because you're leveling up so much, you maybe just be feeling a sense of expansion that is a little bit scary, because as you kind of grow inside of yourself, as your energy field expands, it's kind of like, oh, I have all this space, or like you kind of grow out of yourself in a way that's kind of like, oh, I don't know if it's going to be okay. It is, you're not going to explode. I work with the planets as helping spirits, and Jupiter once told me, expansion hurts, but you're not going to explode. And I just always think about that when I'm having an expansive moment. So you're not going to explode. It's just growing pains. You're just filling out. It's weird, and I get that. But it's all good. In terms of being afraid that you have all this potential and that is not going to go anywhere, I think at this point, that's just not going to happen. I feel like you're past that point. It's like I feel like where your mind is at now, where you're looking at these patterns, where you're thinking about what you need to walk away from, that means you're removing stagnation and you're actively moving forward and cleaning things out as you go and building new good energy, clean energy as you go. So I feel like the momentum is sufficient that you're not going to fizzle out. And so if you're afraid of not fulfilling your potential, this feels like a Queen of Wands energy, like something in the past in your childhood that when you felt really passionate about something, somebody or something in your life prevented you from moving forward. So like if you were a 5-year-old that was really into music and you wanted to take guitar lessons and your parents said, no, music is worthless, like that's kind of what I'm talking about here. If you're afraid that you won't live out your potential, I think it's because somebody told you couldn't, so you just may need to look at that so that you can push past it. Because this seems all good. It seems like you're really on a good track. It seems like the momentum is really building. You know what you need to remove. You're able to face that with a straight face, even if it's uncomfortable, and you're really oriented towards pursuing that which you really desire. So I think you're going to be fine. I think you're full of potential, and it's going to flower. You just need to give it time. You need to take it day by day, step by step, and celebrate yourself as you go, because there's always going to be a step beyond. You know what I mean? Like, the end is death. So there's always going to be more until that moment. And so there's always going to be a step beyond where you are. So don't forget to celebrate where you are, because, you know, you could look at, you could reach a new milestone, and this is what I used to do. You could just look at the next one and just say, okay, we're here, what's next, what's next, what's next? And, you know, while that drove me forward, it didn't give me the sufficient self-esteem to really even enjoy what I was doing. The moment I said, wait, let's celebrate what I just did. Let's celebrate the accomplishment that just happened, and let's rest on that for a minute. Let's rest on my laurels and celebrate what I just did, right? Then I'm having this sort of celebratory moment of enjoyment that increases my self-esteem and also it gives me a space to rest as well. And so then when I'm ready for the next thing, I'm really ready and I'm motivated and I'm passionate and I want to go, right? And so make sure that you're not fizzling out or stagnating via doing a lot of good work and then not appreciating yourself for it, because that can happen. The one in you that needs to feel appreciated is going to start to tuck in and remove themselves if you don't acknowledge them. And then you'll have to go back and get them, and the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be, and the more you're going to stagnate. I'm not saying that's going to happen, I don't think it is, but I'm just saying that's the track you'd be going down if you were. So make sure that you really celebrate your success and your awareness and where you are now, because who you were got you to where you are, and that's a beautiful thing. Okay, you're here, you survived, that's great. Welcome to, you know, another day. You made it. Okay, but this is no longer about survival, this is about thriving. We're going to thrive now. You're going to pursue that thing that you came here to do. So, beautiful work. Okay, 3 of Cups, outcome. Celebration. Celebration with friends, maybe, as well, as we're all getting vaccinated and have a little bit more wiggle room. Obviously, still, if you're going out and doing things, please honor, why am I missing the word? Please honor social distancing, you know, unless you are with people that have, you know, both agreed to dishonor it in some sort of more private capacity. Like if you're fully vaccinated and so is a friend of yours and you are together in a private space, that's fine, obviously. But if you're out in the world, please make sure that you honor other people, because you never know what they're struggling with. Beyond that, yeah, celebrate yourself, celebrate your successes with other people. Tell your friends, you know, tell the people that you love, that support you, what you're doing, what you've managed to accomplish, what's next, you know, what your vision is. You don't have to tell them everything if you don't want to, but anything you're comfortable sharing with other people that will honor your secrets and the things that really matter to you, you know. I think if you're able to kind of talk to another person, it will continue to build the excitement and help you walk away from blame, shame, and judgment towards yourself from, you know, older patterns, and may also help you kind of crystallize and clarify, you know, what you're doing next. The Queen of Swords energy is a really good energy to kind of have like a face-to-face talk with somebody else. You know, it could be, this is a Libra energy, so it could be a Libra, but it doesn't have to be. It could be anyone that has this Queen of Swords kind of logical, strategic side of them that could reflect things back to you in a clear way. You know, you could do that. But ultimately, this isn't about more work. This is about celebrating where you are with the people that love you. So, you know, just make sure that you're having fun, and it looks like you have something to celebrate at the end of the month, or this wouldn't be coming up at all. So whatever you do this month seems like it has a lot of power. Maybe it's just, you know, you've taken off the launching pad, you've taken those first steps towards your goal, and, you know, maybe that's what we're celebrating, you know, this movement forward. All this fertility that you have inside you, right? Your opportunity around you to be the star, to pursue that wish fulfillment energy, right? Yeah, this month is about pivoting and pursuing, so, and celebrating. So I hope you have a good month. It seems like you will. It seems like the little hang-ups that you might have, you're already aware of them for the most part, and it's just a matter of solidifying that and taking the action, and it feels like you're coming at this with a lot of maturity, so it doesn't seem like it's going to hang you up. It feels like you're totally ready to confront it, so that's great. Looks like it's going to be a good month. I hope you enjoy it. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see the next video, and I will see you, Leo, in June. Wow, weird to say. I feel like the month is flying by, or the year is flying by. Okay, enjoy. Love you guys.